the Indians, South Asians have the highest response towards rice.
So Southeast Asians and South Indians technically have
South Asians, yeah.
South Asians have a
very high response towards insulin. Jadi kita dah ada high response because of a lot of factors. Number one is
the biggest problem in our country is that
so menjaga perut ni adalah satu keutamaan.
you want to be a good doctor, you want to berlaku depan mata.
Lesungbatu Medic Show. Episod kali ini dibawakan khas oleh Simnya. Simnya merupakan salah satu produk kesihatan yang digunakan untuk orang-orang yang mengalami masalah tak cukup tidur ataupun tidur yang tidak lengkap. Ia merupakan produk tradisional. Antara ingredient yang dikandungi ialah ashwagandha dan juga Apocynium venetum. Dia merupakan satu ekstrak daripada daun dan tumbuhan. Jadi kepada sesiapa yang inginkan produk sebegini, boleh mengunjungi doktor-doktor berhampiran dan klinik-klinik berhampiran anda untuk bertanya lebih lanjut tentang Simnya.
a lot of factors. Number one is muscle mass in South Asians are low. Number two,
kita ni kira low ke high ni?
Kita low, kira low. If you can check your triceps, it's quite low. And then number dua, kita lebih cenderung kepada sarcopenia.
Okay.
So, which is muscle mass low, rendah muscle mass, and then berat, bukan berat, kandungan lemak tinggi.
Okay.
And number three is,
so jadi macam skinny fat lah.
Skinny fat is sarcopenia, yes. And ketiga adalah where my research comes in, lemak perang, sesuatu yang kita tak ada. Lemak perang,
kulit perang ada.
Kulit perang ada. Lemak perang tak ada.
Okay.
So brown fat. Yeah, brown fat is something that people in cold climates have it. So kita dah lah genetik teruk. Lepas tu duduk kat tempat yang panas. So the Arabs, the South Asians, the Southeast Asians who does not have this brown fat are troubled with multiple factors that causes obesity.
Tapi biasanya kita difahamkan brown fat ni ataupun lemak perang ni banyak waktu kita lahir. Betul.
Itu sebab tu benda tu tak update dekat buku medical. Kat buku medical, brown fat ni dia lebih kurang 1 perenggan je. Dekat buku pediatrics Tapi daripada kajian yang saya buat, brown fat ni boleh diaktifkan kembali pada orang dewasa, especially in athletes when you take cold shower. Banyak atlet dia buat lepas bermain sukan, dia masuk dalam ice tub, itu untuk activate brown fat.
Okay.
When you activate your brown fat, your inflammation goes down.
But does it make more brown fat or
it makes more brown fat if you are insulin sensitive. Kalau you diabetes, ada kerentanan insulin, dia akan ambil masa sikit.
Okay.
So brown fat ni biasanya dekat area di sini, supraclavicular,
tempat untuk menyerap, pegang haba lebih lama.
And then satu lagi dekat sepanjang you punya spinal cord, you punya tulang belakang. Cara kita nak tengok adalah dengan membuat PET scan atau MRI, benda mahal. Tapi di UTM mereka boleh buat benda ni dengan menggunakan thermal camera.
Okay.
So thermal camera ni macam kita tengok movie Arnold Schwarzenegger 97. 97 Predator movie. So you have these colours, right? So you can show this
see the heat
map when you're exposed to cold.
But why is it that some of these races are not showing, are having more brown fat than
okay, this is where we come towards mutagenic events. So we have some mutation in the genetics. I'm not a geneticist, but the only genetic that I can brag about is UCP-1. It's called uncoupling protein 1.
Okay.
So this UCP-1, when it is high in the blood, it will cause brown adipose tissue to be formed. When it is low, especially in South Asian ethnicities, that's the reason why we do not have brown adipose tissue. And to nak convince you all lagi, studies dekat Netherlands menunjukkan ada certain South Asians yang pergi duduk sana for months, mereka tak buat apa-apa diet therapy, they are exposed to cold and yet they cannot build the brown fat because of lack of UCP-1. But the moment they give them some nutraceuticals, some diet modification to activate the UCP-1, the brown fat comes by.
Understand.
And this is proven by PET scan and MRI.
Understand. Wow. And how about, I mean, just out of the block, just going a bit further, how about the Hispanics and Latin Americans? Do they have the same, but they don't eat rice there at all?
I think they eat a lot of rice as well. They have a lot of, yes, they have a lot of
South Americans,
they have their burritos.
Tapi itu bukan nasi apa?
It's, I think, wrapped dengan nasi dalam as well. So they have a lot of beans as well, beans plus nasi. So I think they have some issues as well when it comes to metabolic diseases. But as far as I know, the massive effects of obesogenic diet, obesogenic environment would be in South Asians, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Arabic countries because of heat plus food, and now we have pollutants that causes obesity.
It's interesting to fikirkan because kalau tengok this rice bowl of this Asian district, Southeast Asia ni sangat fertile untuk tanam nasi. And kalau kita tengok dari segi sejarah pun, like you see like the Cholan Empire semua datang daripada India, datang ke Majapahit, Sriwijaya and everything, and or even the Kedah tour and everything. The objective was for flat land, for crop, for rice, and then this thing, kalau if you will look at it, that means now it's like 1,000-year-old problem.
Yes. So I just thought about it, Roland. We were right. You're right about the rice plantation, etc. So I'm not going to be a populist here by saying that we have to stop eating rice.
Nak bagi subsidi.
Tak ada. Bagi subsidi, I cakap kat tempat I ada nasi. Tak ada. I tak nak jadi populist macam tu. Tapi apa yang I nak cakap adalah, kalau kita berhenti makan nasi, it's against our culture. I'm just saying it's against our culture, and then I don't want to go down the history books.
It also akan menyebabkan this satiety issue.
Betul.
Sekarang tak ada kepuasan. If I eat like
betul.
macam roti, lepas tu I makan just vegetables and makan salad and everything.
Correct.
Because it's never our culture to eat like salad with olive oil.
Correct. So that is one. That's why I disagree when people put in their title of their research as bringing back spaghetti to Asia. It was never in Asia. How can you bring it back to Asia? So it's quite funny though. I always tell to my co-researchers that this is it's a gimmick when it comes to titles as such.
Okay, maybe it's given subsidies by the industry.
Yes, I believe you can read the paper and see who subsidizes the paper though. But that's another topic for another day. So coming back to rice, right? There's another thing in rice that is benda ni kita ramai tak tahu dan benda ni berbahaya. Dalam nasi kita ada satu heavy metal yang dinamakan arsenic.
Arsenic, yes.
So this arsenic dia akan masuk dalam lemak badan dan dia akan membuat seseorang tu jadi obese. And it also causes metabolic syndrome sebab it promotes fat inflammation and deactivates brown fat. So all this, if you put it together, now you know why the Indians can't really get their brown fats activated. And if you look at the Malays and the Malays and Indonesians in Southeast Asia, they were not having issues with rice, but now they are coming towards
that problem
of obesity, insulin resistance, because they are eating the way the Indians used to eat, and they are eating. Kat Malaysia kita asimilasi, kita makan banyak Indian food as well, and then because of this poisoning, temperature issues, to activate brown fat, you have to at least have a temperature of 18 degrees for at least 8 hours per day. So
not going to
happen here, right? So I think these are the multi-factorial reasons on why we are having obesity.
But if you look at India per se, kalau tengok negara-negara India, negara selatan seperti Sri Lanka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, kita tak nampak pun they have an obesity crisis like that as compared to what we have here. I don't know the data as much as Indonesia can be a population of 280 juta. Of course, kalau 10% they have obesity, the number is huge compared to our data. But we're not seeing like they are so worried about this as much as our nation dengan 32 juta ni ada. That means like something here betul-betul tak betul.
Betul-betul tak betul. Sounds like a rap song, man. A rap song title.
But it's something that is we it's more than, I rasa macam dah 2 dekad lah kita tengah fight ni, and then kita pegang tampuk number 1 ni dah lebih kurang 10 years already now.
Right. So if you look at it, I won't be surprised if we're going to hold it for quite some time though. Undisputed heavyweight champion, WWE main title, double, hold it and come by, bro. And even if Stone Cold comes by and gives a stunner, it's not going to cure diabetes. I'm sorry to say that, because the way our R&D is going, that we are not really thinking about curing, reversing, and we are not thinking about cara kita nak kurangkan patient. We are only having a module in which kita nak cuba kurangkan komplikasi seperti jangan sampai kaki kena potong, jangan sampai
the spin-off issues,
dialysis dan sebagainya. To answer this question in another way is, we are having a lot of drugs. Kita banyak ubat-ubat baru. Kita banyak ubat. I think few days ago there was some diabetes reversal talk in Malaysia Kini as well, I think, and they were using some method from the UK, specialists and some medication is to be used. I mean, this is some good method to start to reverse diabetes. I think this should be done in a bigger scale. Kita kena buat secara besar-besaran dekat klinik kesihatan government, kita kena buat dekat hospital government, kita kena buat dekat private clinics, doctors, kita kena buat dekat private specialists, so that everybody come in tandem to work together. And diabetes reversal is not really something yang kita buat menggunakan satu protokol saja. We have many methods of doing it, and we have discussed this in the past as well. And if everybody does this, then kita boleh tahu that kita akan sampai ke satu persimpangan di mana diet comes into play, and that's when we can talk to them about what are you eating and how can we refine this. And to answer your question on Indonesia and India, they are not as obese as Malaysia. I think one of the, I'm not really sure because I do not have data on India and Indonesia, but what I can say is I find that it's interesting to see Nepalese being thin, being thin, compared to Malaysia, etc., and compared to Bangladeshis and India people.
Okay, I'm going to add on this lah of what visually we can analyse. The Nepalese datang ke Malaysia semua kurus-kurus.
Betul, dia kurus.
Tetapi after being here for a few years, they become Malaysian.
Correct, and they end up having a lot of appendicitis as well, which is, I think, has something to do with their microbiome in the gut, kuman-kuman dia. And hipotesis saya kenapa mereka kurus adalah disebabkan oleh temperature mereka dekat Kathmandu. And the altitude as well. The higher the altitude, lower the temperature, the brown fat is higher.
Even though they are thin.
They are thin, and thin people have higher brown fat though. And brown lemak perang ni dia berkadar songsang dengan lemak visceral. So if you have high visceral fat, your brown fat is low. The moment you have high brown fat, your visceral fat it should be low.
Despite that gene that you inherit,
that gene can be switched on.
Okay.
So this UCP-1 can be activated.
UCP-1
menggunakan banyak benda lain lah. Macam salah satu caranya adalah cold shower dan minum kopi. Minum kopi.
Kopi jantan boleh?
Bukan.
Okay.
Kopi apa-apa lah. Tak ada produk. Jangan kopiko lah.
So how about the other races? Is there any genetic attribute that the Chinese have, or the Southeast Asian punya gene plateau, orang-orang Nusantara, they have any special ability ke?
If you look at genetics, some other things that I know of would be orang asli dekat New Zealand.
Okay.
Mereka mempunyai genetik yang teruk, sangat teruk, sampai mereka lebih cenderung untuk dapat penyakit jantung.
Disebabkan oleh karbohidrat? Bukan,
disebabkan oleh genetik mereka sendiri.
Okay.
Tetapi sebab mereka memakan banyak makanan yang fermented food, they ferment a type of soy, and then
this is talking about the Maoris, the New Zealanders.
Yes. Okay. So because they consume food that is fermented, and their K2 and K7 level is high in their gut.
Okay.
Jadi mereka mempunyai vitamin yang kadar vitamin K yang tinggi. Jadi vitamin D3 absorption is better. Dia punya kuman-kuman dalam perut tu tidak menyebabkan mereka mendapat penyakit jantung.
Wow, so the gut microbiome pula.
Yes. So what I can take from here would be this study, and the Japanese who were more prone towards cancer but they do not have it, is because of switching off the genes with food, and we do not have to use something sci-fi yet, and everything's spoken here is evidence based, and it's out there in the journals. You just have to, let me do this first. You have to take it out and then start speaking about it.
Tetapi kalau kita lihat also on the perspective of memang kita banyak discuss tentang nasi ni, because the subject really a heavy subject.
Betul.
Dalam pemakanan Malaysia ni, hampir 50% of the plate start je letak nasi. Betul, dulu. Baru accessory sayur semua akan datang di sekitar. Here I rasa not just the rice is a problem, gula ringkas pun masalah, and then the other alternative macam petang-petang makan kuih yang disalut dengan tepung, and then you makan goreng pisang. There's sugar, salut, high heat, frying. It's like the recipe of disaster.
Correct.
And kalau seorang nak makan satu keping goreng pisang, tak logik lah. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 and then dah, itu pun dah jadi kalori dah 600-700 kalori. Just begitu saja at a tea time meal.
Yeah. So I think kita tak boleh mengendahkan kita punya culture untuk tak makan. Maksudnya kita kena makan. Breakfast we have to eat, lunch, tea time, etc. I mean kita boleh lah buat intermittent fasting dan sebagainya, tapi
ni belum zaman-zaman kita pergi kursus tau masa kat kerajaan.
Makan 6 kali, wajib makan 6 kali. So bila you tak makan, pergi kursus you tak makan, orang kata cakap dia ni weird, jadu tak makan, dia ni buat apa ni?
I used to be one of them lah.
Me too. But
I would not eat. It's like, oh my god, 6 meals.
Yes. And then it's very hard. At the same time, you pergi kursus, you tak nak makan. You nak makan benda yang ketogenic, tapi dia bagi you bihun dengan kari puff. So if you look
tapi
at it,
khusus Kementerian Kesihatan.
tapi Roland, I think it's not only Kementerian Kesihatan.
Everywhere.
It's even in private hospitals.
It's become a disease
culture.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Nation culture, I think.
And even bila I was planning to just do one roadshow talk, and we wanted to serve food, and it's going to be like a buka puasa event. Everybody is asking like, are you going to go and take us to a buffet? I said, screw all of you all. I'm not going for a buffet. You guys come for a health talk and I'm going to serve buffet?
Sorry.
No way. So it's already inculcated in the culture. Kalau makan ni kena hidang like
Betul. So I think
all out.
Betul. The only way to go forward is, I think we have few alternatives, right? Going low carb and then going through the healthy way of doing it would be one, and most of us are trying that. But I think that at the same time kita kena cuba invest pada sektor yang kita nak makan sepanjang hari, tapi kita modify cara pemakanan atau kita modify makanan itu sendiri. So kita kena kerja towards kita buat nasi strain baru, atau kita cara masak nasi tu kena buat mereka makan nasi pun mereka akan tetap tak boleh naik berat badan, atau mereka makan goreng pisang pun berat badan tak naik.
That's a putting Wolbachia nyamuk kat luar. It's like that.
Betul. But who is going to do this? It's the food industry, the scientists, and then people who are working with insulin, and then the clinicians working together, and then we can come up with this. By just kita kurangkan makanan kepada suku atau half of it, or we give a medication to hambat you punya nafsu makan, I think dia akan banyak memberikan impact terhadap kesihatan you pada jangka waktu yang, I mean, in long term lah.
What's your opinion on things like Ozempic and stuff?
Well, for now I think it makes good money for the people who are prescribing it, but then there is a lot of data on rebound on it, and
I also feel that there's going to be a lot of rebound when you're going to suppress badan kita punya system.
Yes,
badan kita akan retaliate.
Yeah, so since I'm working a lot on insulin, I have data that the way it works is by spiking up your insulin, and when you do so, you're lowering the glucose, but you are spiking the insulin. In the long term, this hyperinsulinemic effect akan membuat seseorang tu untuk lebih cepat mati. Higher mortality, higher morbidity. So this is not me speaking, this data on, I'm speaking about hyperinsulinism.
And also our cultures again, bukan saja dari segi macam pemakanan and everything, and situation sekarang di mana kebanyakan individu bekerja di luar, maupun suami ataupun isteri, or if you're even a single person, your odds untuk kebadan kalian untuk you masak tu, you just don't have time. So even if you can invest in drugs, ubat-ubat and everything, tapi bila nak invest untuk makan tu, for them it's like, alah cincai lah, let's go to warung.
Betul.
Tambah, they don't know what brand rice, what type rice. Mungkin kalau you pergi macam kedai India, dia kata you nak beras nasi India ke, nasi putih ke, dan sebagainya. Even jarang sekali ada juga kedai-kedai macam kedai Cina vegetarian jual sediakan like brown rice and stuff. But when you don't cook, or you do not know untuk masak yang benda-benda basic ni, if you want to cut your calories or even switch your diet, one, cost pemakanan protein sangat-sangat tinggi berbandingkan dengan kos pemakanan karbohidrat. So it's like you, if you tengok a value of fuel cost, okay, what do you drive it, petrol or diesel? Of course diesel lagi mahal but petrol, but what you really need, example, if you're going to play that 1 gram per kg for protein, or even more if you're on a hypertrophy position, you kena makan almost like your size, half a kg of meat.
Yep.
Siapa yang nak makan, siapa yang sanggup bayar that much
Betul.
to buy outside?
Yes, so I think benda ni akan balik kepada, masalah ni bukan masalah zaman sekarang, Roland. I think this is masalah yang we did not prepare for this in the 80s, 70s, 70s, 80s
What
and
were you
90s.
doing? Smoking a lot of stuff that time.
That time was in the 70s I was not here, Roland.
I know. What were they doing?
I was probably somewhere that we don't want to hear right now. So I think the government and the opposition were not prepared for this. They did not think about keterjaminan makanan. And the
Maybe
scope,
I feel that they didn't know anything like
Yes.
this to anticipate, because
Yes.
there was no crisis at that
correct.
point.
So they were not ready at the time, and they were pushing on. At the time, if you look at fish, were cheap. It was tasty, but I took it for granted in the 90s. And now I think it's quite expensive to eat fish, but it's very hard to get fish as well, good tasting fish. To answer your question tentang makanan, beli makanan kat luar berbanding masak makanan, ada beberapa benda yang kita kena tengok. Contohnya makanan yang dimasak di luar, kita banyak kedai-kedai menggunakan minyak subsidi. Itu kalau ada lah, dan belum diambil oleh orang yang tak sepatutnya ambil minyak ni kan. Minyak subsidi ni minyak kelapa sawit kan? Is it minyak kelapa sawit? So I think minyak kelapa sawit, although it's demonized and patronized out there, sebenarnya dia sihat untuk masak. Sebab apa? Boiling point dia agak tinggi, so it does not produce aldehyde. Compared to you masak kat rumah tapi tak ada knowledge tentang pemasakan, you pergi masak dengan olive oil, virgin olive oil, it will cause that aldehydes. Same thing. Excuse me. Some of my patients use minyak kacang. They use sesame oil and all this kind of all of
Seed
seed oil, vegetable oils. Jadi pemakanan kat rumah pun, walau dia masak dengan minyak yang salah, jadi tak sihat. So kat luar sebenarnya kita dah sebenarnya beberapa benda yang ada dalam kita punya subsidi dan keterjaminan makanan, walaupun benda tu dikatakan low cost, does not mean it's low quality. Palm oil is quite high in quality because of the way you can cook it.
True.
So I think that's good. I think everybody should use that to cook. Even though the European...
Tetapi again, that misconception of that drama of we've been cutting down our trees.
Yes.
This.
That is
itu gimmick lah.
It's gimmick orang Eropah. So penjajahan jenis baru lah. So I think it's quite bullshit for them to do that, and it's quite hypocrite of them to say so. Is because they do not want that. At the same time, they say that our red palm oil is the best, right? Minyak kelapa sawit merah,
High in
dengan
keratin,
vitamin A, tinggi dengan vitamin E, tinggi dengan coenzyme Q10, vitamin E dengan coenzyme Q10, bagus untuk jantung.
Yes.
Tapi it's not part of our health policy to give it to our people yet.
And also dalam our community pun, kalau nak masak dengan minyak masak merah ni, they feel the whole food will turn colour and it will not look appetizing.
Yeah, so when it comes to that, I think we don't have to really we don't need the reason to cook in red palm oil though. Just normal palm oil should suffice. But the policy of taking that once per day, it's been a mock story of the parliament. In the past, some parliamentarians said that, and then orang yang tak ada knowledge mengatakan benda tu salah. So people yang patut ada knowledge should sit and talk about their expertise, and people who do not have that kind of knowledge should zip it and find another occupation.
You see this issue of dari segi pemakanan masuk pada bahagian kesihatan ni, it's been a lobbying issue.
Yes.
I mean, it's the guys who are lobbying for the candidates daripada US ke, Europe ke, Malaysia ke, this is benda ni wujud.
Betul.
Kita tak dapat nafikan. So even macam arahan untuk, are they happy that the numbers of obesity naik? I somehow feel that they're happy because they can increase the budget every year. Because tak ada nampak satu usaha dan mereka bekalkan macam subsidi or initiative for people to pick different lifestyle or create certain modules where orang boleh access secara online to learn this knowledge. Tak ada. So even agency yang gergasi who got billions of dollars on budget cannot do it, and they throw it now you're on your own, ataupun a physician ataupun doktor they have to pick up this challenge on their own. Even these doctors are not even given like assisted grants to like create awareness, I think, because the way media works is so different today compared to last time. Last time is very unique channel. Today is like the branches just keeps branching. There's so many alternatives, so many viewpoint. You allow people to discuss and bincangkan benda-benda ni and find alternatives, because maybe some people intermittent fasting is not even necessary. Some people to pergi untuk ketogenic diet tak perlu.
Betul. I agree with you. Kita banyak media alternatif. Kita banyak like your
apa kita tengah buat sekarang.
It's alternative. It might be okay for some, it might not be okay for some as well. But kita buat apa yang kita buat, right? Kita buat apa yang kita buat, and bila kita, like you said, maybe they do not provide grants and they are not looking into, there's no initiative untuk mengekang benda ni, untuk berhentikan benda ni. This diabetes and obesity problem is now called diabesity around the world, and benda ni
it is the continuous pandemic,
right? It is, and then you can see that there's a shift of patients that used to be at the age of 50s and 60s. When I talk to my senior doctors, they said they only look at diabetes back then was 50 years old. But now when we are going for pre-op optimization, you can even have someone who's 20s having diabetes without them knowing. This is one. Number two is the way we screen though. Kita screen kat, contohnya cara kita screen kat certain general practice adalah kita ambil fasting glucose. And some patient don't even go to doctors. They are treated by pharmacists. They're treated by pharmacists. The pharmacists don't even take the HbA1c, and the patient would just use the fasting blood glucose. You have to understand that the glucose is quite
very volatile.
You have different properties at 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours after food. The reason I'm talking about this is because of glycemic index and this insulin index. So the way we are screening is wrong. Not everybody though. Some part of us, we don't have a proper protocol, so we miss out on a lot of patients. And bila kita tengok patient tu, dia dah banyak komplikasi. And then bila dah banyak komplikasi, kita hanya pentingkan atau kita hanya bagi mereka ubat-ubatan.
Another one more to test to add. Selain daripada sugar, fasting blood sugar, HbA1c is the serum insulin.
Serum insulin is never taken.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to say. This I need to break this though. Because when it comes to serum insulin, I'm very sorry. It's super expensive for me to do research because no one does it.
We do it. I do it.
Yes, you do it. Only certain people though. So if we have more people doing it, and then it will be quite low cost though. But I found an alternative, Roland. I found that you can now I mean, if you have insulin, kita boleh calculate kerentanan insulin dengan menggunakan insulin dan glucose.
Okay.
Jadi insulin yang kita ambil dari darah, kita check dengan glucose masa you puasa, dan kita guna satu formula nama dia HOMA-IR.
Okay, I know.
Dengan HOMA 2B lah. Tapi sekarang kita gunakan benda baru. Kita boleh gunakan triglyceride dengan glucose sebagai surrogate lah.
Okay.
So UTM dia guna benda ni, dan kita dah bagikan, kita dapat, we have data of 12,000 orang. UTM gunakan AI, and mereka telah buat mereka telah klasifikasikan diabetes kepada 3 group. Obese related, insulin resistant, and old age related.
Just with these markers.
Just with triglyceride glucose index, just with visceral adiposity index, which you use the BMI, use
the
waist circumference, and some other part like you said,
okay,
which is nutritional measurements. By just using more data, you can stratify all these patients, and we can precisely work on this. So I think one of the approach that you said is now the government should take in tandem and collaboration with universities would be this. Just a shout out to just a shout out to Dr. Asnida and Dr. Nashua for doing this in UTM.
Nice. And I'm pretty sure that definitely the agencies or the ministry of definitely would have known and seeing what this data can help them.
Yeah, I think the paper is currently under peer review.
Okay.
And I hope after the paper is out, we would try to send it to some authorities who are interested in using the same method in private GPs.
Not the food industry.
Food industry, I think they have limited rule for now.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
later on when we come up with a lot of insulin index.
I see.
List.
I see. Okay. So, sort of before we wrap up, one or two big questions. What do you see 5 years down the line?
Are you talking about politics?
No. No. What do you see issue insulin resistance, issue diabetes ni? Is there ada tak any escape route at the moment besides not just of course calorie watching sangat-sangat penting. Kita tak boleh deny pun apa juga teknik-teknik lain yang guna, it goes down still to the calorie watching and being specific understanding kita punya macros tu sangat-sangat penting. Is there anything else that you think that in terms of tech, in terms of research is going to play big roles that is going to come in and do some game changing?
I think
Kat sini.
I think yes. I'm going to be very positive for this. Yes, sebab apa? Sebab kita dah start cluster, kita dah sub cluster. Cluster diabetes ni kepada seperti saya cakap tadi, kita stratakan kepada 3 grup. Ini dengan data yang kita ada kat KK, which is kat KK kita tak ambil serum insulin. We don't take homocysteine, and etc. If you look at Japan, they have 7 subclusters. China have 7. Sorry, not Japan. No, Japan I think is 5. China has 7 subclusters
On diabetes.
On diabetes, and the reason they have more subclusters is because they test more things. For example, they orang check gliadin antibody, so they tahu ni type 1 ke, type 1.5 ke atau type 2.
Oh, ada 1.5 also.
Yes, type 1.5. And then you have latent autoimmune diabetes of adults.
Okay.
So this is considered 1.5. And then you have some diabetes, autoimmune diabetes, but it is not, the GAD65 is not positive. Gliadin antibody is not positive. So it's because of giving insulin to the patient develops autoimmunity. So they have data on this, and then they've also stratified diabetes based on uric acid. Uric acid are diabetes yang there's a role of hyperuricemia, fructose toxicity, which is quite alien to us though.
Yeah, just to stuck in purine.
Yes. So China has done this, and they have 7 data. If you look at that, their R&D, and we try to replicate here, and then we have more parameters, I think it's going to be an exciting time ahead if we have more clusters, and it will be more precise. We would know siapa yang perlukan insulin, siapa yang perlukan sulfonylureas, dan siapa tak perlukan. So kita boleh cut costs when it comes to insulin and ubat-ubat macam ni. Siapa yang perlukan Ozempic, siapa yang perlukan SLGT2 inhibitor sebab mereka lebih cenderung untuk dapat sakit jantung. And then if you play around this kind of areas, we know who can be reversed, who can be reversed, who needs urgent referrals. Kita boleh cut cost untuk diabetic food, untuk penyakit mata dan sebagainya.
Nice.
So that's one part of it. Another part would be working on food. We come up with resistant starch nasi kancing rentan supaya kita boleh makan nasi tapi kita tak jadi gemuk.
Any nasi yang dekat Malaysia sekarang ni yang ada kancing rentan?
Kancing rentan yang ada pada nasi tu dia tak berapa pengaruh dia terhadap insulin dan glukos tak berapa bagus berbanding kancing rentan yang kita buat sendiri. Maksudnya seperti pemprosesan. Kita tambah macam saya cakap tadi kat Japan, dia ambil nasi yang tinggi dengan amylose, dia tambah dengan minyak, dia jadi lipid-amylose complex. Cara masak dia adalah dengan masak nasi tu dengan minyak, lepas tu sejukkan nasi tu.
Okay.
So kalau siapa yang maybe some R&D in Malaysia, saya tengah pancing ni R&D kat Malaysia nak buat amylose tinggi campur dengan minyak kelapa sawit atau minyak red palm oil, lepas tu you crystallize and then you want to do clinical trials. It might be a great time ahead, Roland. We might
Go find him.
I mean, I'm just giving you ideas because these are things that.
But then, can this be consumed in terms of like fusing it into the local nasi
minyak
lemak? Nasi minyak.
Tapi kau nasi minyak banyak kali lah. Dah kahwin dengan nasi minyak lagi. Asyik bagi nasi minyak, ingat kahwin banyak kali. Dia bayar. So I think nasi minyak bukan nasi minyak kahwin lah. I think it's the way forward lah. I mean, they have to come up with R&D. Just like the spaghetti in the Mediterranean diet and sushi and all these mung bean noodles. Our staple food, if we do some R&D and work on that, maybe we can work. I mean, this is one of the approach that I can think of.
Oh, that's good. That's great ideas. Last message to all the people yang ada isu tentang kencing manis, diabetes or obesity. What's your message to them?
My message to them is don't lose out hope. Find doctors who are willing to work with you in tandem, work together with you. Diabetes care is very personalized, so it's very personalized, very personal as well. Work towards, if you do not want to reverse it, works towards rehabilitating it first, and then when you are much more clear about it, try to lower your medication, etc.
Nice.
But don't do it on yourself. Do it with a guidance of a proper doctor.
Don't try this at home.
Don't
Leave
try this.
danger to us.
Try it at home with a doctor. No?
Okay. So thank you again, Dr Bhuwan, kerana sudi hadir ke Kuala Lumpur, jauh daripada Johor.
Thanks for having me here.
Okay. And terima kasih kepada semua yang telah tonton hari ini. Jangan lupa like and subscribe sehingga kita bertemu di episod yang lain. Kita lesung kau-kau.